Hey people, welcome back to Empowered Independence, a vlog series from the IMLC hosted by me, Ketsa, and today we'll be giving you the definitive, no-nonsense guide to the Creative Commons music licensing terms, non-commercial use and derivative use. Now, it's not the first time I've said it, but the FMA is a platform that enables musicians and producers the ability to publish their work on a Creative Commons license of their choosing, enabling listeners royalty-free streaming and downloads of their music. The artist retains the copyright. The free part of the FMA is that users can stream and download for free. It does not necessarily mean free to use this music in my project, and it certainly does not mean copyright free. When looking for royalty-free music on platforms like the FMA, Jamendo, or even the good old Internet Archive, it is essential that you find out what Creative Commons license it is released under. Failure to do so can lead to serious legal consequences, and should an artist decide to hire a solicitor and initiate legal proceedings for improper use of intellectual property, be warned, the compensation you will pay will be in the thousands or tens of thousands. On top of this, you may lose your social media channels from copyright strikes. If you haven't yet checked our definitive guide to CC licenses, make sure you do so. Two terms you come across often in CC licenses is NC, non-commercial, and ND, no derivatives. So you'll often see a license that states NC, not for commercial use, or ND, not for derivative use, or both. But what do they truly mean? Let's break it down. Let's first take a look at the Creative Commons definition of non-commercial. Quote, CC's non-commercial, NC, licenses prohibit uses that are primarily intended for or directed toward commercial advantage or monetary compensation. This is intended to capture the intention of the NC using community without placing detailed restrictions that are either too broad or too narrow. Please note that CC's definition does not turn on the type of user. If you are a non-profit or charitable organisation, your use of an NC licensed work would still run afoul of the NC restriction. Whether a use is commercial will depend on the specifics of the situation and the intentions of the user. End quote. So as you can see, a pretty confusing and vague definition. Specifics of the situation is important to note. I've had enough experience in dealing with solicitors in big companies trying to twist these definitions to suit them whilst trying to sort out illegal use of my music. Fortunately, I've always won and received compensation, so I have a good understanding of these terms. So although commercial use is one primarily intended for commercial advantage or monetary gain, it's certainly not black and white. Let's use one of my examples as demonstration. A big New York-based media company had used 12 of my tracks as bedding in various podcasts they produced without clearance or any contact with me, the copyright holder. Their argument firstly hinged on their use being non-commercial, as they weren't directly making money off the podcasts they produced, they were just an extension of their media outlets. My argument? You are a media company. What is a media company without content? The content you produce, including your podcasts, help build your brand, which is a commercial entity. The podcasts were promotional to the cause of this media company, which was to maintain and grow their commercial advantage. Another good example are artist showreels. An animator creates a showreel of work they've completed to show potential clients and highlight their abilities. Commercial use? Of course it is. No, they're not directly making money from their showreel, but their intention is to show their expertise in their field of work, therefore advertising themselves to commercial clients. Definitely promotional and definitely commercial use. So the definition of commercial use also includes any use that is linked to an organisation in any way or could be seen as promotional to a cause. This will always be for seeking commercial advantage, whether directly or indirectly, doesn't matter, it's commercial use. So returning to my example of the New York media company, their next argument hinged on the fact their podcasts weren't derivatives. I released under the CC license BY-NC-ND 4.0, allowing no derivative or commercial use. They stated they'd played the whole song within their podcast, so it wasn't a derivative. So luckily for you listeners, I got to spend 2 weeks discussing what a derivative work actually was with music solicitors from this company. Me with no legal training taking on paid professionals. And in the end, I won again. A derivative work is any project that uses your music to create a new standalone piece, whether that be a video, computer game, sync to moving images, or bedding music in podcasts or radio shows. The podcast episodes were new standalone pieces that incorporated my music. They had used the whole tracks but had talked over them. This constitutes a derivative work. It's not like the podcast was a music podcast highlighting and promoting different artists where they played full tracks then talked in between. Their talking was edited on top of my music. Definitely a derivative project. Of course, bigger companies like this will always argue the toss. The less culpability they can convince you they have, the smaller the compensation they'll have to pay. In this case, 12 tracks were illegally used in their podcasts, redistributed and downloaded without clearance. That's pretty serious in copyright infringement terms. After all the back and forth and being increasingly annoyed at this company's belligerence, by the end, the compensation I demanded and received was 5 times the amount I originally asked for. Straight after this, exactly the same happened with another media company. I used my newfound knowledge to get another compensation payout with a much quicker turnaround. So in a legal sense, though I've never had to go full out and start official legal proceedings, I've had enough experience with solicitors in dealing with these definitions to be confident to know what I'm talking about. So let's clearly define these terms. Commercial use is one primarily intended for commercial advantage or monetary reward. Commercial advantage can be viewed as anything that is promotional to a cause or of an organisation or individual. This is applied to all organisations, including charities, non-profit organisations, and governmental bodies. Derivative use. A derivative work is an expressive creation that includes major copyrightable elements of an original previously created first work. The derivative work becomes a second, separate work independent in form from the first. So this includes any and all use of the original work in any new project. The exception is sharing the original piece exactly as it is, unedited and attributed. So there it is, people. Really, it's not a big ask to properly check a license before using intellectual property. Paying £40 to clear the use of a track forever is a small amount considering the time, effort, money and skill required to create that track. Becoming a member of a music licensing website like the IMLC can reduce these costs even further still by offering a service whereby you can use as much music as you need within the membership year with one single very reasonable payment. Even still, say you license a track as intro music to your podcast for £40. Say you make 100 episodes of that podcast. You've cleared the music for 40p per episode. Not a big ask to reward the artist when you're also seeking reward for your content. Music can completely make or break any campaign. We all know it's a hugely important element in media production. So it's very rare to find something suitable that's both of quality and also completely free to use. It just doesn't happen much in life or in music licensing. Royalty-free licensing companies like the IMLC can really help simplify the process of finding very reasonable soundtracks to your projects and getting them legally cleared forever. This is called a perpetual license and it's what we sell. So come check us out. I hope you found this useful. If you enjoy this content, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, all that sticky stuff. Check you in the next one. Peace.